So today's program has an interesting title. It says, "What controls us?" It's an interesting title, and some of my friends told me, "Filip, we know you. Will you speak about conspiracy theories? You are not such a guy, you know." I said, "Nope. We are going to speak something about what is in our area of influence." We will go a little deeper into the subject. I have something very interesting for you that you will be very intrigued. And before that, what are all the things that influence our life? What are all of those things that influence the current of our life? So there are two main things that influence our stream of consciousness and our control about the things that we are doing. One of them we are not going to speak today about because we will not have time. So I suggest that we do it next time. I will on the end mention it. It's really interesting also thing. But the second thing we will speak about today, and this is some of the subtle laws of this nature. This is why we say what controls us, because there are some subtle energies that are behaving like the gravity law, like some other laws in this nature, that actually control our consciousness and control actually our behavior, depending what we do and what we choose to. So they are invisible but very powerful. And these subtle things, some of the different other subtle things you already heard, most probably are chakras, aura, prana, but this is all small elements. And it's something that we cannot see. Like we cannot see the electric current. So because if we didn't know that electric current is there like a few hundred years ago, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, because we can feel its effect. So even the things that we cannot sense with our senses, we cannot understand with our senses, we can still feel the effects if they really exist. So these modes of material nature that I will show you actually are those energies which connect objects with our consciousness. So it's really interesting, and they actually overwhelm us in different ways. So they overwhelm us, and that's why we behave in certain way. So it's interesting. That's why we sometimes experience lust, greed, being lazy, that we want to just run around or not do anything. And if we understand those laws, we will be able to predict the results of our activities. So it's really interesting. That would be really great, that we can predict how we will behave depending on what are we doing in our life. So they're really interesting. And these modes actually are like that each moment, imagine yourself that you are in the middle of the crossroad, and you can choose which direction you are going to go. So it's like a stream. So one stream is very fast. It's very fast and it's going just down, The other one is very mild and safe. And the third one is full of turbulences of this, rotating. I forgot the English word, but spins that can suck you, and all of these things and rocks. So there are those three streams, and you can just choose in which one you want to go. And when you start it, you will end up somewhere down the stream. And can you imagine that in each moment of our life, we are on that crossroad. But because we are not connected with ourselves and we don't understand that point, we are usually not aware of that. We are just heading out how we are habituated with one stream, usually the most, and ending up always with the same result. That's why usually things happen again and again to us in the same way. And, we think, oh, why is it happening again? Because we didn't understood why are we jumping in that stream. So in order to control and to steer our life, it's really important to know where we are going. So I will share you a few thoughts about it. So these modes that I was speaking about are called sattvas, rajas, and tamas. This is all these things are written in ancient Vedic scriptures that explain actually how this material world works and how these subtle laws are functioning. But this is universal, actually, like the law of gravity is universal. So it functions and it's really logical. You will see how they work. So the sattva, translation of it is goodness. The translation of rajas is passion. And tamas, it's ignorance. So these three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are affecting us in different ways, in different strengths, depending how much we indulge in those modes. So if you remember those streams, so the goodness is that one which is very peaceful, very mild, and the passion is the one which is very fast, and ignorance is that one with all the turbulences and all the rocks and everything else. So if you would be choosing, some of you would maybe choose this mild one, the goodness, some would choose passion, and somebody would say, no, like I want some fun and getting hurt. But yeah, usually it's not a conscious decision. It's a decision usually made unconsciously because we don't know how those things function. So I will just show you a few slides explaining what is the nature of those modes and explaining you what is the results. So the goodness, actually, what is the binding force to those modes? Why we again and again, like indulge in them? The goodness is sense of happiness, satisfaction, knowledge, and superiority. So because of that, we are attached to acting in such mode and acting in this world, because this is the modes of this material nature. For the passion, it is attachment to fruitive activities, that we want to get more and more, that we want to, like new things, and it binds us by ropes of desire and attachment, because we want new iPhone, new computer, new dress, new car, better house, better position, like whatever. So all of these things, this is the mode of passion. And the mode of ignorance, this is really interesting, but the madness, the indolences, the laziness, and the sleep. Like the persons who go in that stream, usually they say, I just don't want to wake up from the bed. I just want to stay sleeping at the bed. Or, like, I just want to continue scrolling on my mobile, or I just want to continue just getting drunk, or just, so it's, when you look at rationally, it's little funny, but this is how it works. That mode just drives us in that direction. So I will just show you a few more, and then I will go a little deeper to explain you what are they about. So the symptoms of those modes is that the goodness illuminates ourselves with knowledge. It illuminates us. We are understanding what we are doing, how we are doing that, what is the purpose of that, why to, we are, we can choose, and we are understanding what's happening in our life. That's what we were speaking last time about intelligence. That's why we're speaking about knowledge, because when we have that, then we can choose what is good, what is not good, in which direction we want to go. And that mode frees us from sinful reactions, because we don't tend to get into sinful reactions like, like changing partners, or doing some crazy things with drugs and alcohols, or kill animals, or whatever, give pain to others, hurt somebody. We don't do those things, because we understand what is the effect, how that people feels, how it's not good, and everything else. So we have control over ourselves. The passion, it's intense, it has unlimited desire and longings. So it's, all this desire, I want to achieve that position, I want to achieve that, I want to do that, I want to do that, yes. And also great attachment, my car, my house, my position, my job, my career, and we want to get into different fruitive activities. So this is the symptoms of the mode of passion. The ignorance, it's more about, like being in illusion. You're like, oh, like, oh, I don't want to do anything. There is so many people controlling me. There is this, there is that, like if everybody is blaming, we are trying to blame everybody else for our shortcomings and that we didn't succeed in our life. Darkness, like, oh, nothing is working, everything is bad, everybody wants to, like this and that. And even madness, like, oh, you're like, oh, I'll just do crazy things, kill somebody, hurt somebody, like be violent to others. And inertia, like we don't want to even move or to do anything. What's there even to endeavor in this stupid world? So all of this is, influences of ignorance. So these modes influence us, and this is very logical, isn't it? It's just categorizing different states of our consciousness, different actions, what you have seen until now. But the point is that everything that we do in our life, every choice that we make in our life, everything that we surround ourselves is stimulating different modes. So if we understand the modes, we will know by each of our action what is going to be the result. You will even be able to see, when you see the person, you will be able to understand in which mode that person is and what is the result of such activity. It's really interesting. So we will be able to understand ourselves better and understand others, because this is actually the laws. Because if you emphasize the mode of passion, it has certain outcomes. It will happen. We are going in that stream and we are going to end up in certain point. So it's really important to be conscious about those things. Also, this is, like I mentioned, the different foods that we eat, they all fall in all of these categories. They fall in categories of, like goodness, passion, and ignorance. So if we are eating food that is juicy, fatty, wholesome, pleasing to the heart, that's in the mode of goodness. An effect of such foods is that it increases the duration of life, purifies one's existence, and gives strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. So if we want to be healthy, happy, and satisfied, we should eat proper food. I know that sometimes craving comes, like about some whatever junk food and this and that, if we are not in the mode of goodness, if we are in the mode of passion. But the result of such food will be distress, misery, and disease. It's like that. This is actually the laws, how it functions. So, and the types of foods are there is too bitter, too salty, hot, pungent, dry, and burning. So it's all of these extremes, because, like people who are passionate, they like to eat bitter, sour, salty, and like hot food. But the results are like that. So whatever we put in ourselves, this is what we'll get out of it. And the type of ignorance, the food is which is prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten. So like it's food that is staying there and rotting, especially in warm weather, like that, then all the bacteria started to develop. Food that is tasteless, decomposed, and putrid. So food consisting of remnants of untouchable things, like dead animals or whatever. But effects of such foods is infection and disease. So this is actually the effects. If we take such foods, we are going to be diseased. And even if some food, like in ignorance, that is maybe you will not become diseased, but it will affect your consciousness in different ways. I can remember when I was before eating, I was eating a lot of meat. I was being one of the most prominent meat eaters among my friends because I was training professional sports and such things. When I became vegetarian, my friends were they could not believe, Filip, vegetarian, we don't believe, what's happening with you? But you know what? I totally felt total change in my consciousness. I was more peaceful, more calm. I could control my emotions. It was a totally new level. I don't know, have you experienced that if you have changed your diet? But it's amazing because, it's really amazing how it affects. So this is actually regarding the food. So it's not only food. There is a different other things with everything that we do, and it affects our determination. How can we control our mind? So in goodness, our determination is unbreakable. It's sustained with the steadfastness by yoga practice, because yoga actually is how to control our mind. We were speaking that in last session, that it helps us to control our mind. So that's why we can be determined, and controls the activities of the mind, life, and senses. So we can really control ourselves. So if we want to control ourselves, we need to be in the mode of goodness. We need to nurture ourselves with knowledge, and we need to balance our life and elevate ourselves in the mode of goodness. Because otherwise, in passion and ignorance is very hard. Because in passion, what it happens is that it holds on a fast to fruitive results. A person can control himself because he wants to get results in religion, economic development, and sense gratification. So because he really wants to get that position, that promotion, he will do extreme endeavor, and then he will get it, and then we will see what will be the result. So the point is that they can be determined, but because of those attachments and those cravings, which have a certain result, we will see in the next slide. But in ignorance, one cannot go beyond dreaming. So he's just dreaming. Like, oh, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this. He's fearful. What will happen? Like if I will just do something, maybe this will happen, maybe that. Oh, lamentation, maybe, oh, this is not working. That person is wrong for that. Moroseness, an illusion, totally, So depending on what are we emphasizing, this is how our determination will also be. So in mode of ignorance, even by knowing those two dogs, how they function, even knowing that we have monkey in our head, that we need to give him a good banana, and even knowing all of those things, we will not be able to do that. Because if we are influenced by the ignorance, our determination is very weak. So we need to raise ourselves in the mode of goodness. And we cannot immediately jump. Sometimes we need to go from lamentation, fearfulness, in the mode of passion first, and then go in the mode of goodness. Because if people are too lazy and don't want to do anything, sometimes they need to engage themselves a little passionately, start working on something and doing something so that we can go in the mode of goodness. Okay, and the results is about happiness. So how happy we are in different modes. And this is the point, that the mode of goodness, in the beginning, this is really interesting, that it's like a poison in the beginning and nectar at the end. Because sometimes the activities in the mode of goodness are not so easy and not so pleasant, because we need to do certain austerities, we need to do certain, we need to give up some things. And so in the beginning, it's endeavor. Like if we want to finish college, to get something, we need to, study hard. So if we want that our day is properly set up, we need to wake up a little early, and we need to take time for meditation. And sometimes it's not comfortable, but the result of that is going to be that our mind is calm, that we are, after that, full of energy, connected with ourselves, and that we can face the day. And the good thing about the mode of goodness is that it helps people to awaken to the point of self-realization, to ask oneself, what is the purpose of this life? What I'm doing here, and how can I get out of here? So that's why mode of goodness is amazing, because then we can use our life in a proper way so that we can really achieve something. In passion, it's little different. It's opposite to the mode of goodness, because in the beginning it appears as a nectar at the first, but it's a poison on the end. In passionate activities, if you want to go after, let's say, something, if you want to go after some girl, just, or boy, just because you feel that, on the end, it may happen total disaster. It can end up, especially if we cheat on our partner, it can end up with a divorce. It can end up with different things. So in the beginning, it's like a nectar, but at the end, it's like a poison. So if we do too many things for material attachment, for position, for achieving something, if we are too attached to that, then people develop different diseases, like they go in burnout and eventually fall in the mode of ignorance, of sleeping, depression, and all of these other things. Yeah, and it's actually the happiness is derived from the contact of the senses with their objects. So it's all about, like enjoying in our senses, like, oh, how can I please my sense of touch, of sight, of, taste. And ignorance is blind actually to self-realization, because person in ignorance doesn't even think about self-realization. He doesn't think about spirituality. He doesn't think about, is there something higher? He's in delusion from the beginning to the end. He's just, like in his own, world of depression and whatever. And happiness actually arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion. People in the mode of ignorance think that, if they will be all day in bed, they will be happy. I even saw some meme, how to say that, person just in the morning in the bed, and then he's walking with the bed around, and then he's with the bed in the office, so it's, what's happiness there, what can you taste in that? It's just, laziness, and there is no, no satisfaction. That's why this ignorance is poison in the beginning and in the end. There is no nectar there. So yeah, this is how the modes are functioning, and that's why if we understand actually those actions, those modes and those energies, we can make a proper choices in our life, and gradually we can change it and go more in the mode of goodness, because mode of goodness gives us more happiness. So generally, the purpose of this, I was just speaking about our life and how we behave in our life, but the point of the modes are also affecting the nature and everything around us. So the nature of mode of ignorance is that it destroys things. The ignorance is destroying. Ignorance is you just putting things apart. But it also has some positive aspect, because without that, things would not be able to change. Things would not be able to go on, you would not be able to go in a new life or whatever. And one positive thing also is that ignorance is sleeping. So we sometimes need to sleep. We sometimes need to dissolve those, remove those thoughts and relax and rejuvenate ourselves. And for that, the mode of ignorance is necessary. But if we do it too much, if we are not general in the mode of goodness, then it will take us over, and it will just, it will destroy us, because the mode of ignorance is destroying things. In order to be able to create something, also something needs to be destroyed. This is a cycle, And the mode of goodness, so the mode of passion is creating. The mode of passion is, without mode of passion, you will not be able to create. You will not be able to create something new or develop something new. But it needs to be done in the controlled way. It needs to be connected also with the goodness, so that our consciousness is in goodness, even though we are acting to create something new. And this means that we are planning properly. I was also teaching entrepreneurship, and when we open an enterprise, if we don't plan ahead, if our consciousness is not in the mode of goodness, we are going to end up most probably, in a wrong direction. But if we plan, if we think, and if we just make things in a proper way, then we can use that mode of passion. We can use that energy to create something beautiful and transform it. And the mode of goodness dominantly is to maintain things, Maintaining is actually the hardest. The easiest is to destroy. The second is to create, but to maintain is the most difficult. To maintain, it's easy to enter a relationship, to fall in love with somebody. We were speaking about that, to fall in lust with somebody. But it's easy to do that. But to maintain the relationship, you need to do a lot of endeavor. It's easy to create an enterprise. But to maintain an enterprise, to work with all the people, solve all the issues, solve the things that needs to be done in everything in our life. So the mode of goodness is important there. So yeah, like when we try to make some decision in different modes, it will happen like this. In the mode of goodness, we will contemplate about that. We will contemplate, and then we are going to, think about it and then make a decision, wise decision. In the mode of passion, we are just going to act. We do it quickly. Like we need to make a decision and we just do it. Okay, great. Let's do it that way. And usually consequences later on are not good. Usually it happens like that. And in a mode of goodness, we just, postpone things and on the end don't even act. So the difference between mode of goodness and mode of ignorance, because in mode of goodness, we contemplate in the beginning, but we make an action. So we contemplate, we engage our intelligence. In mode of goodness, we don't engage it. We don't contemplate. We just, find excuses and just, blame others and just don't do it, we don't think about it, but we just don't do it. We just, use that laziness. Yeah, so that's why it's important, because in mode of goodness, we can see, because we are illuminated by knowledge, we can observe what's happening in our life. We can observe our actions. We can observe what is the result of something that we are doing. And we can also observe others. We can also notice how others are behaving and what will be the result of that behavior. It's really amazing. And the characteristic of mode of passion is that person always wants more. He always wants more. He is never satisfied with what he has. So it's always more, more. I have one mobile, no, another one. One car, no, another car, like a new car, new house. And when it's oriented to the person, then that's called lust. When it's oriented to the things, then it's called greed. So this is the nature of mode of passion. And it's interesting that in mode of ignorance, when we are doing it, like when we are drinking alcohol in the mode of ignorance, we are going to be more and more attached to that drinking. We are being more and more conditioned by it. We are going deeper and deeper in ignorance, even though that thing is not giving us joy. It's just deluding our consciousness so that we don't think about other problems. And, it's when you see people in that condition, you're like, it's just, but it's just dragging us deeper and deeper. So, yeah, and it's totally opposite of mode of goodness, because the knowledge is known by its absence. So because there is no knowledge, in behavior, it's just yeah. So I'm just trying to be a little extreme here, Katya, that you understand me. And I'm not just trying to say ignorance is just, bad and everything. I'm just trying to put it little extremely so that we can, understand the differentiate. Usually in our life, we are not just specifically under one mode. Those modes are actually interacting. So usually it's like a spectrum. You have this RGB spectrum, So usually the colors and the flavors in our life are combined with the mode of goodness, ignorance, and passion, our actions. But the point is that we need to emphasize that goodness. And then, to get that bright picture and to lower the ignorance and passion. And it's a process. It's something that we need to be first aware, first to understand, and then that we can move on. And then we can understand why people are hurting themselves. There is people who are cutting their body, making, cuts on their, hands or legs or whatever, where people cannot see it, Why would they do that? Because temporarily they just forget about everything else, about the problems and illusion and all the other things, So this is the mode of ignorance. It's very dark, and people start to do very crazy things. So when mode of passion and ignorance is connected, then people start to do perversions, because sexual attraction is mode of passion, But when it's connected with the mode of ignorance, then it goes in different perversions and different, like very dark things, So this is how it goes. So now, when we are speaking about modes, is it a point of disposition or imposition? Is it a point of something that's just inside of us, or is it also the point that it's around us? What would you say when we are speaking about the modes and then their influence? Is it just from within the influence, like a disposition, or it's also from the outside, the imposition of their influence? Julian? Nina?
I think it's definitely also comes from the outside. I think you can find yourself in a community or an environment that has one of these modes as the dominant one.
Okay,
yes, I think
great. So you can find yourself in surrounding that has that mode that then influences you also.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Julian?
I think it works again like the mirror system. And it's easier to be in the goodness mode if we are surrounded with people that are in a goodness mode. And the same thing for passion and ignorance. So the key is to surround ourselves with the right people.
Thank you very much. That's very true. It's said that our association with who we associate, we become like that. So it's it's really, really important who we associate with, because it really influences our consciousness. And like Nina said, it is also a point of imposition. It's a point of that the circumstances around ourselves affect us also. It's not just our inner decisions and our inner things, it's everything affects us, So the point is that if we are in our room, in our house, if it's dirty, if it's things are just lying around, if it's in mode of ignorance, it will affect our consciousness. If it's in mode of passion, that there is a lot of things around which are not sorted, that are just, it's not dirty, but it's just so many things on the tables, it will also affect our consciousness. It will be hectic, But if things are sorted, if everything is in its place, in its shelf and everything, then it will affect our consciousness with calmness, all of this positive energy. And also if we are associating with people, if we are listening to different kinds of music, if we listen to Mozart, which is in mode of goodness, it will be totally different than just listening to, rock and roll, And what to say about heavy metal that is in another, so it affects our consciousness, with all of these things. So we really need to be aware of that, so that we really think about, okay, what am I doing now? How it's affecting my consciousness? Because with each of that decision, we are helping to bring ourselves in that mode, to go in that direction. And that's also about those dogs, because, it's not, I'm just mentioning that because this is a popular comparison, but it's more complex because it's like modes. So there is 3 modes. So which one we address, that one will become more prominent in our life. And it will bring us more auspicious result or more pain and sadness. And the point is, when we choose in which mode we are going to act, the result will come. We cannot change the result. So if we make some stupid thing in the mode of ignorance that we get drunk, the result will be there. If we make a nice choice, to go in the nature and surround ourselves with, to listen to the Mozart, the result will come. It always comes, depending what we do. If we make something hectic, that we are just running around, that we start our day just, running around, trying to sort different things, the result will come on the end. So we really need to be aware of that. And one important thing is that maybe sometimes we can say, that mode of goodness, not attractive so much. It's too peaceful. I need little action. That's the point, because if you're in the mode of passion, the mode of goodness will not be attractive to you. But that doesn't mean that we don't need to emphasize it, because the results of the mode of passion will bring us, like auspicious things. The mode of passion will not. So we need to transform that. And I can tell you my story. Before I started to act before I started to do yoga and before I started to practice spirituality, I was very passionate, very, like 5 friends needed to follow me to be able to catch my rhythm, I was sometimes 3 days I would not sleep. I would just go out, whole day with my friends, go out, whole day with my friends and go out. And I was not drinking, I was not taking drugs, I was not taking anything. I was just passionate. It was not ignorance, it was just a passion, And then all the crazy, adrenaline sports, speeds with motorbikes and different crazy things. And when I started to do yoga and spirituality, it just calmed myself, transformed my consciousness. And I could use that energy and focus it in positive things that would like totally change things in a proper way. So if we take some ingredients and put in our life, we will transform our consciousness, like yoga, like spirituality, like whatever we can find that is in mode of goodness, it will transform ourselves. We will be transformed and we will start looking in another direction. So that's how the modes function. So it's understand that we need to understand how to go there. So you remember that I just skipped one important point when I was trying to say in this position, because I just said that it's affecting us from outside. But what is affecting us from inside is our nature, the nature which we are reborn with. And this is also that some of us have intrinsically that we are more in the mode of passion, more in the mode of ignorance, and more in the mode of goodness. Because, depending on where we are raised, like you were saying on the beginning, depending on the influences that we had through our life, which molded our consciousness, we have, a predisposition to be in certain mode. So that's that internal factor. And the external is about food, surrounding, and all of these things. And those two things, when they are combined, then we get the results of our activities. And in order to understand that eternal factor, what I was just saying, which is defining us, we would need to address that first thing that I mentioned, which is influencing us. And that's karma. So this is one important concept that defines actually why certain things are happening and why we are in certain circumstances, why we have certain inclinations, why are certain things happening to us. And these things, they're really interesting. So yeah, I wanted to share some of these things with you because I think they're really important, because we were speaking about the purpose and we were speaking about how to steer our life in a proper direction. But without understanding these laws, we cannot do that. We are just stuck. And we can see, okay, I need to just find what I want to do. But if we are in the mode of ignorance, we are just going to, make decisions that are not good for us and not good for the others also. Or if we are in the mode of passion, we are just going to make decisions that will just in the future bring us distress, pain, and sadness. So in order to make a good decisions, in order to make a proper life call, we really need to go in the mode of goodness. It doesn't mean that we need to be all our life in the mode of goodness, but at least in the moments when we are thinking about it, that our consciousness is in the mode of goodness, so that we can really think proactively, positively, about it, and not just influenced by the other modes.